Hi and welcome to Mod of the Week. This week we're talking about suspension. Of all the mods I've done to my bike, none are anywhere near as important to rideability as suspension adjustment. Power, comfort, and protection are all nice things to have, but none seem to have such a dramatic effect on performance. To most people, suspension means only adjusting the spring hardness, but this isn't exactly true. To get optimal performance, one needs to adjust the shim stack, base valves, oil level, and preload as well. With improper spring rates, the rider has less control over their bike. When it is too soft, the wheels have way too much free motion, meaning their position is less controlled by the steering or balance of the rider. Similarly, the likelihood of causing damage to your bike is far greater with too soft a spring rate, as even small bumps can make you case it, hitting your bash plate on minor obstacles. As well, more motion with your shocks means reduced oil lifespan, reduced bearing lifespan, and increased likelihood of blowing seals, since it really limits the ability of your bike to take jumps or sharp drops. For those with dual sport bikes, too soft forks means quick stops become quite dangerous. Gripping hard on the front brake slams the rider into the ground, thus making the bike want to do a stoppie, as the leverage necessary to do so is reduced. Similarly, too soft on your shock, and the bike will tuck under much more than it's designed to, making accidental wheelies far more likely. In the case of too hard of spring rates, a rider will be rather uncomfortable as bumps are less absorbed by their suspension. Washboard surfaces become a ridiculous annoyance. Though, in my opinion, it is preferable to be a little on the hard side of things than the soft. Hardness in the suspension is controlled by the spring rate, as well as the shim stack and the engineered amount of air within the devices. This is why a change in altitude effectively alters the hardness of the suspension, and why ideally forks should be bled at the beginning of any ride at a dramatically different altitude. In any case, do not replace your stock air bleeder screws with button bleeders, as these tend to allow water to leak into your fork oil. As far as rebound goes, it can be very dangerous when it is too high, as this will throw the rider off their bike. Though rebound is heavily dependent on the intended use of the bike and rider skills rather than their weight. Rebound is mostly controlled by the oil in the system, but also valves in the shim stack. Preload and spring rate determine for the most part how your suspension handles big stuff, whereas dampening mainly affects how it handles the small stuff. There is considerable overlap, but more or less this is how it works. Proper adjustment allows the rider comfort and control over a wide range of riding conditions. Compression dampening works with the spring to resist the wheel's upward movement during a bump, basically how much each wheel wants to shoot up when absorbing a whoop, rock, log, or whatever. Rebound dampening works against the spring to resist the wheel's downward movement after a bump, or how much the bike wants to shoot up after absorbing an obstacle, forcing the bars into your face or the seat into your butt. Without proper adjustment, the wheels bounce and slide rather than roll. They need to be properly adjusted to maximize control and work together to have a smooth and proper feel. Too little compression dampening will give you a rough ride, as it will allow the springs to sink in way too much, even with the smallest bump. Too much, this will get your wheels stuck in a squat, where they won't come back in time for the next bump and have too much free play. Rebound dampening in the forks plays a major role in how well your bike corners. The compression of the springs during a turn push the wheel into the ground. Rebound dampening holds the wheel into the ground and makes corners tighter and more accurate. Too little rebound dampening means the forks collapse into your bike and you wash out or lose traction on the front wheel. Too much and your wheel will bite in and turn less smoothly. Much of this is adjusted beforehand by the setup of the shim stacks and fork oil level, but many suspension systems have the ability to make minor adjustments by the rider, in particular compression dampening on the forks, compression and rebound dampening on the shock, as well as preload. For both rebound and compression dampening, turn the clickers on your suspension out counterclockwise to decrease dampening and in clockwise to increase dampening, if they are present. When carrying luggage, it's a good idea to adjust the preload on the rear shock, so that the bike will not want to fall over when on its kickstand. In the case of base valves, the stock ones for many Asian bikes have a very old square styling that causes dampening effects to be rough and jarring. Better valves, made by Racetech and MOTW, allow for much smoother riding and increased oil life. Swapping valves is well worth the investment, even if you don't want to change springs or anything else. For shorter riders, there are a few band-aid fixes for reducing seat heights, such as lowering links and moving the forks up in the triple clamp. Both of these fixes have disadvantages, as they alter the effective spring rate on your shock and reduce rider control. As well, the likelihood of casing it is increased as travel is not reduced in kind. The best solution is replacing the built-in springs with the shorter version, but this generally requires the assistance of a shock. Even though travel and clearance is reduced, this is by far the better solution for those who want to maximize their bike's capabilities, and no more expensive if you're going to swap out the parts anyways. Overall, adjusting suspension is an arduous task, which is why I went with Racetech to do the work for me. John Minich, the owner and founder of the company, has provided a great system for detailing how your bike is used, and with years of experience, he provides a very solid service for a reasonable price. He is a bit difficult to get a hold of, but he responds to messages when he does have time.